This video is for new and returning players of Starship Troopers Terran Command to use as either a quick start guide or as a handy reminder of the basics if you haven't played for a while. We'll cover each of the mechanics in turn and some hints and tricks along the way, so you can do your part exterminating the arachnid menace. Before diving into the detailed gameplay, let's start with an overview of what you can expect to actually spend your time doing in this game. Although you do get a brief taste of Klendathu, Starship Troopers Terran Command's main campaign takes place on the desert planet Kwalasha, as bugs terrorize the miners on the ground while the corporate bigwigs put mining output above the lives of their workers. If you're a fan of the series, you can look forward to plenty of cheesy one-liners and oodles of satire, but from an RTS perspective, the mechanics are overly basic with little base building, economy or micro. However, the mission design overall is varied, with big battles, small incursions, both over and underground, during the day and at night. There are even sections where you fight human rebels, and there are plenty of base defense missions, brimming with tower defenses as huge bugs burst out of the ground, attack from the air, or sprint from a nearby hive to climb over the walls of your outpost. There are a handful of difficulty levels, but bear in mind that at higher levels, the only real change is that your damage output is reduced. Everything else about the missions remain the same, and is worth noting that even on the harder settings, the first half of the campaign is really rather easy, but it does get more difficult in the mid to latter stages. Your standard rifle trooper unit will be useful throughout the campaign. At first, they'll be your main weapon against the bugs, but they're still useful later in the campaign as a meat shield, so your more specialized units can do their thing. Overall, there are several tiers of units with a variety of specialisms, though some are more useful than others. Combat engineers with flamethrowers are great at suppressing, particularly at choke points, and have the ability to build defensive turrets. There's a radio operator who can call in reinforcements to replenish your squads while they're out in the field, and eventually you will end up with powerful walking mechs and troopers in powered suits. Most units have their advantages, but the absolute key here is to have an effective mix of units to ensure you can deal with each type of bug at all times. Basically, you can't go wrong with a few rifle troopers, a few Mark II troopers, a radio operator to replenish, and rocket troopers to blow shit up. The UI in Terran Command is overall tidy and slick, with unit icons above each unit that are useful and don't get in the way. The symbol in the middle represents the unit type. The bar on the left represents the unit's health, which is basically the number of troops left in that squad, and on the right is the recharge bar, showing whether you can use your unit's special ability yet, or how long you have to wait until you can use it again. Then, finally, if a unit is within firing range of an enemy, a ring will appear underneath the unit's icon, indicating the quality of the line of sight, i.e. if troopers are standing in the way of each other, the ring will be red. Each unit starts with an ability that can be triggered and recharged. Basic troopers have a frag grenade, engineers a flame grenade, tactical officers can shoot a flare, creating a zone within which bugs will take additional damage. Grenade abilities are best used just before your units become overwhelmed to give your troopers some breathing space, while others that target specific bugs that have a weakness to that ability should be used accordingly. As your units kill bugs, they will gain experience. Gaining experience levels generally makes that unit more potent, but once they reach level 3, you can choose one new special ability for that unit from a range of options. This choice is permanent and down to the individual units, so you must choose carefully, often while under fire, to choose the most effective new ability for the current situation and the mission ahead. Line of sight is one of the most important mechanics in the game. To defend against waves of increasingly tough bugs, you need to ensure every trooper is doing their part. Most of your units can't shoot through each other either, so effective positioning is key. Although this game isn't micro-heavy, there is an emphasis on setting up your troopers in effective firing positions to ensure as many guns are brought to bear as possible, which becomes particularly interesting when you consider bugs can come out of nowhere from any direction real fast. It's incredibly satisfying when you get it right, but when you get it wrong, the situation can turn real ugly really quick when the sea of bugs finds a weakness in your fields of fire. The maps in the game are full of opportunities for your units to gain elevation. A unit that's up a hill or on top of a building can shoot over friendly units that are right next to them on a lower elevation, giving you further options when establishing fields of fire. Not only that, it extends that unit's view into the fog of war, which in some cases gives that unit extended firing range. Though do bear in mind that, conversely, a unit at a lower elevation might have its line of sight blocked, which can be incredibly dangerous when a horde of bugs are waiting just over the crest of a hill, ready to pounce. As well as inflicting damage, most weapons can suppress the enemy to a greater or lesser extent. Considering that most of the time your troopers are trying to shoot the bugs dead in their tracks before they are able to close the gap, being able to slow them down or even stun them via suppression can be a valuable tool. A rifle will only suppress the bugs a little, but a grenade will not only blow some up, but potentially stun the others around it to a stop, giving your troopers more time to mow them down. But this suppression mechanic works both ways. Your own soldiers can become suppressed by spitted acid attacks or generally being impaled. The deployment of units is overall far simpler and faster than in most other RTS games. You just need a base with a landing pad, which you will usually have access to at the beginning of a mission, or by capturing one halfway through. And you also need supplies, which are obtained by either capturing a base with supplies, or looting supply caches that can sometimes be found lying around. Deploying a unit is as quick as clicking on the relevant icon and waiting literally a few seconds for that unit to be dropshipped onto a landing pad. You are somewhat limited by the number of dropships you have available and the number of landing pads, though it is possible to redirect a dropship to a free landing pad by clicking the unit icon, tapping Q, then selecting a new landing pad. Most units require a specific building at your base before you can deploy them. To deploy more buildings, you need a couple of things. War support is a currency gained by completing objectives, and you also need a certain battle tier level, which is kind of like a tech tree, but the next battle tier is locked behind a timer that counts down from when you deploy a building from the previous battle tier, and there are 5 battle tiers in total. So to recap, you gain war support by completing objectives, and battle tiers are basically locked behind a timer. Once you have enough of those, you can deploy a new building. Then once you have enough supplies, usually from finding them laying around, you can use that to deploy a number of units limited by your supply, with different types of units unlocked by having different buildings. Bases can be captured quickly by sending a single unit there. On some missions, you'll have multiple bases, others you'll have none and will have to make do with the units you already have. And on specific missions, you'll have a huge pre-made base with massive autocannons and cool shit like that. Bugs can uncapture your bases if you let them close enough, which can be an issue if you only have one, but is otherwise just inconvenient if you have several. It's very easy to reinforce units that have lost individual soldiers. You simply click on them, click reinforce, then on the drop site you want the reinforcements to be dropped off too. In fact, when defending a base with a drop pad, it's very easy to keep your troops topped up by cycling dropships. Just bear in mind, you're often limited to 2 dropships, and they take time to land and take off. There are also special units that have the ability to reinforce units in the field, which is incredibly useful, so do that. If you have multiple drop sites across the map, it's super easy to redeploy your troops from one site to another. You just click the right button, send the troops to a drop pad, then redeploy them to the other drop pad you'd like them to move to, and you can squeeze multiple units into one dropship, but hey, it's the mobile infantry after all. Given you will only ever have enough supply for a handful of units, you will often want to disband certain units in order to change the mix of your unit types. You can send units to their deaths, but it's far quicker and easier to simply disband them. Just make sure you think carefully before disbanding a fully leveled up unit. So what about the bugs themselves? There's a wide variety you'll recognize from the films, from drones, tigers, tankers, and the flying ones, to those that you may not recognize that tend to sit back and spit at you. As you progress through the story, the variety of bugs increases, each presenting their own problem and requiring new solutions. A mechanic you'll need to become familiar with is that of the bug hives. As you explore the map, you'll find tunnels that spawn bugs, and those tunnels will be connected to a central hive. Ultimately, you need to destroy the central hive to get rid of those bugs for good, but you won't be able to do that until you fend off wave after wave of bugs defending their home. Once depleted, you can send a team into the hive to destroy it for good, but reaching that point is often easier said than done. If you're looking for a detailed look at the DLCs the game has on offer, or indeed the base game itself, please feel free to check out my review videos linked in the description below. Whether you are a brand new or returning player, I hope you found this overview of how to play Starship Troopers Terran Command useful as a way to get you started or to ease yourself back in to this fantastic game. See ya.